Welcome to the Airlift Workshop, where you get expertise from the air suspension specialists, keeping you on the road and in top condition. Today we're installing a LoadLifter 5000 series kit on a 2019 Ram 1500. Installation will be nearly identical between the LoadLifter 5000, LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate, and LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate Plus variations. Remember, this overview doesn't replace your installation guide. Grab yours out of the box and let's get started. We'll start by assembling the air springs. Place the roll plates on the air springs and install the swivel air fitting. Tighten the air fittings finger tight, plus 1.5 turns. For LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate Plus kits, install the braided stainless steel air line at this time. Tighten finger tight, then use 2 wrenches to turn 1 additional flat or 1/6 of a full turn. Do not over-tighten. These assemblies will be left and right-hand specific once assembled, so be sure to note the orientation of the brackets during assembly. Attach the upper brackets and roll plates using hex cap screws, lock washers, and flat washers. Leave loose at this time. For Ultimate Plus kits, insert the air line through the slot while setting the upper bracket onto the air spring assembly. Attach the roll plate, left lower bracket, and right lower bracket with flat head cap screws. Next, raise the truck and supporting the frame with jack stands, drop the axle so that the coil springs are fully extended. For filming purposes, we're using a drive-on vehicle hoist. Use a die grinder or an angle grinder to cut along the line on the jounce bumper bracket. Stop slightly short of the frame. Then remove the sharp edges with a cutoff wheel. Remove the brake line holder bolt on the left side frame. Insert a spacer between the holder and the bracket. Reattach the line holder using a hex flange bolt. To install the upper brace, begin by threading the wire bolt leader tools over 2 carriage bolts. Insert the tools and carriage bolts through the 2 slots. Use the square hole in the frame to guide them through. Once the carriage bolts are in position, insert the tools through the holes in the brace and push the brace against the frame. Carefully twist off the tool from the top carriage bolt first and install the serrated flange nuts. Tighten finger tight. Carefully remove the tool from the bottom carriage bolt and repeat, leaving both nuts loose. Repeat for the right side. Drop the axle to gain clearance to put the 2 assemblies into position. Index a carriage bolt into the opening on the front of the driver's side assembly, then set into position. When placing the assembly, make sure the back of the bracket is hooked below the jounce bumper strike plate. While lining up the carriage bolt with the existing hole in the front of the lower jounce bumper strike plate, push the assembly forward. Install a serrated flange nut onto the carriage bolt, but leave loose at this time. Insert another carriage bolt through the remaining hole in the front side of the bracket. Install the passenger side in the same way and torque all lower hardware. Raise the axle so that the upper brackets meet the braces. Insert carriage bolts through the square holes in the upper brackets and through the braces. Install the serrated flange nuts onto the carriage bolts. Snug the nuts, but do not tighten at this time. Use the slot in the upper bracket to adjust the upper air spring assembly so that it's as close to perpendicular as possible to the upper brace and lower bracket. Tighten the upper bracket and air spring hardware. Before routing air lines to the air springs, note the available length and pick a convenient inflation valve drilling location. We'll use the license plate recess as our location. You could also use the wheel well flanges or under the gas cap access door. You may need to drill a hole. Now, route the longest air line path first. For nylon hose, it's recommended that the air line be routed along the top of the frame, forward of the axle, then down to the fitting. After cutting the hose to length, install the hose heat shield over the hose on the passenger side before inserting the fitting. Secure with zip ties. When cutting air lines, never cut from the side or with wire cutters. You'll leave a jagged edge and ruin the hose. Instead, use a sharp razor blade to get a square, clean cut. A hose cutter will also do the trick. If you're installing braided stainless steel air lines, use zip ties to secure the air lines along the chassis every 6 to 8 inches. Leave some slack. Tighten the airline hex nut finger tight, then use 2 wrenches to turn 1 additional flat or 1/6 of a turn. Do not over-tighten. Coil and secure any excess air line in an area where it will not be damaged. The braided stainless steel air line cannot be trimmed. Place a nut and star washer on the inflation valve, and push it through the inflation valve hole. Use a rubber washer, flat washer, and nut to secure it in place. Then twist on the valve cap. Finally, attach the heat shield to the exhaust where it's closest to the passenger side air spring. Before getting on the road, inflate the air springs to 50 psi and spray all airline connections with a soapy solution to check for leaks. That does it. Remember, you can find more information about all of our products at airliftcompany.com, and our knowledgeable customer service team is always just a phone call away. Thanks for joining us in the Airlift Workshop.